Don't you think everybody's got a right to live? Everybody's got a right to live. Everybody's got a right to live. So I hope what you've heard today has convinced you that we are fired up and we're not taking it no more. And we are not going to fall for divide and conquer. We are coming together across every community, across every background, across every type of person, because we know that in addition to poverty, systemic racism, the war economy, and ecological devastation, we have to change the moral narrative. We have to change the morality that tells us that it's our fault for the conditions that exist around us, that there's nothing we can do, that if we were blessed by God, we would be wealthy, right? And if we are poor, that's because we deserve it. We're going to change that narrative through this campaign and lift ourselves up. I want to also just draw attention to the war. When we say that, what we mean is that 53 cents out of every discretionary dollar of our taxes goes directly to the military.
Shame.
At the height of the Vietnam War in 1968, military spending was $354 billion, and today it is nearly twice that. So tell me how far we've come in the last 50 years. In 2017, 3 individuals had a combined wealth of $248.5 billion, the same amount of wealth as the bottom 50% of US households, or 160 million people. Is that right? No. It's not right. So the system that produces billionaires also produces beggars. And our campaign aims to build a broad and deep national moral movement, and it's rooted in the leadership that you see before you today. That's one of the key things about this movement. It's rooted in the leadership of the people who are impacted, which, when you really look at it, is most of us. So we really invite you to join us, because we are about building leaders. This isn't just about the plight, it's also about the fight. What we're going to do now is that Dawn and I are going to read together the letter that we'll be delivering to Senator Scarnati and Representative Turzai. We're going to take turns reading it. This same letter is being delivered to leadership in state capitals in more than 30 states around the country this morning. It says, "Dear Michael Turzai and Joseph Scarnati, all over the country in state capitals like Harrisburg and Washington, D.C., policies that promote systemic racism, poverty, the war economy, and ecological devastation are threatening our democracy and decaying our national morality.
Too often, distorted religious articulations confine morality to only personal issues, not public policies. Racist voter suppression laws undermine access to the ballot box and the power of the vote, while DACA recipients are treated as political pawns. Poor people of all races are being ignored in our political conversation and dismissed in our political decisions. Programs to sustain the poor are being cut, and healthcare access and living wages are denied at the state and federal level.
Meanwhile, the United States House and Senate passed a tax bill that is an obscene transfer of wealth to the richest among us, and the President quickly signed it into law. And further cuts that benefit the wealthiest are being passed in state houses across the country. Here's just a few facts. We've seen a 60% increase in people living in poverty over the last 50 years, while the share of income lining the pockets of the top 1% has nearly doubled. 23 states have passed racist voter suppression laws since 2010.
Federal spending on prisons has increased tenfold to $7.5 billion a year since 1976, and more than eightfold to $17 billion on immigration enforcement and deportations. 53 cents out of every discretionary dollar from our taxes goes directly to the military, while the single biggest threat to global security is climate change.
We demand a change in course. Our faith traditions and state and federal constitutions all testify to the immorality of an economy that leaves out the poor. Yet our political discourse consistently ignores the 140 million poor and low-income people in America. We are here today to demand that in committees and on the floors of this state's legislative bodies, you uphold the oath that you have taken to represent us on a moral agenda that lifts up the common good and the general welfare. And we are prepared to take direct action and engage in nonviolent civil disobedience to insist that Republicans, Democrats, and Independents develop serious proposals to address such an agenda. We are the poor and disenfranchised, clergy and moral leaders from across Pennsylvania. We are the Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival. We have come to say clearly that a politics that ignores the poor has gone on for way too long, and we will not be silent anymore. Sincerely, the Pennsylvania Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival coordinating committee. So let's tell them one more time that everybody's got a right to live, okay? Everybody's got a right to live. 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 Woo! Thanks, everyone. We'll be delivering the letter now. You're welcome to come with us. This is the end of the conference, and media is welcome to speak with any of our speakers who spoke today, and Vanette right there will help you to connect to those speakers. Thank you so much, everyone. PoorPeoplesCampaign.org, text MORAL to 90975 to get involved with the campaign.
Thank you.